Okay, welcome everyone. My name's Eloisa Ramos, and I am here with my daughter Sonia and my friend Connie. Hi. And today we are studying the text of A Course in Miracles, and we left off on chapter 13, The Guiltless World. And it is section 9. Let's see, section 9, here it is, The Cloud of Guilt. And just to review a little bit, we worked on perception to knowledge right before this. So I'm just going to just quickly go over a couple of the lines there so we can pick up on the next section. So perception to knowledge, paragraph 1, line 1. All healing is release from the past. Okay. Paragraph 2, line 1. The very real difference between perception and knowledge becomes quite apparent if you consider this. There's nothing partial about knowledge. Every aspect is whole, and therefore no aspect is separate. Okay? No separation. So now, the closest we can come with perception is what the Course calls perfect perception, which is vision, Holy Spirit guidance, which is, which, let's see, it says, has many elements in common with knowledge, making it transfer to it possible. Yet the last step must be taken by God, because the last step is in your redemption, which seems to be in the future, was accomplished by God in your creation. Okay. And now a lot of the Course in Miracles is really listening to the voice of the Holy Spirit. And here in paragraph 4, it says, apart from the Father and the Son, the Holy Spirit has no function. Because remember that the Holy Spirit is the voice for God. So it's the link in our mind, in our right mind, that remembers knowledge for us, who believe we are separate from God, from eternity, from source. So that's the function of the Holy Spirit. So, okay. Paragraph 5, this is the miracle of creation, that it is one forever. So creation as the Son of God is one. No separation. No time, because it's forever. No change, changeless. So, and every miracle really offers that insight over and over to us. Let's see. And then, let's see, paragraph 7, be you content with healing, for Christ's gift you can bestow, and your Father's gift you cannot lose. Yeah, so the ability to heal is a gift, Christ's gift that we can bestow, and your Father's gift you cannot lose. Okay, so it is a gift from God, and so everyone shares in that. Everyone has the ability for healing, and that's why this is called A Course in Miracles, because we're all called to be miracle workers as the inheritors of that gift from God. Okay, so paragraph 8. When you have seen your brothers as yourself, you will be released to knowledge, having learned to free yourself through him who knows of freedom. Okay, all right. So to see our brothers as ourselves is to recognize that in truth, there's no separation. The differences are not real. So what we perceive as differences with the body's senses are not real differences. And so the sameness of the one creation of God is what we are. And in that recognition is freedom, freedom from fear, okay, freedom from the perception that we are vulnerable to attack, that we are, bodies separate from each other. So that's the miracle. Okay, so 9, as a miracle in this world, join you to your brothers, so do your creations establish your fatherhood in heaven. So in this world, miracles are needed for us to recognize the truth about being one with our brothers. But in heaven, which is knowledge, there's no separation between God the Father and the creation, because everything is one. So in heaven we create. There's that little phrase: on earth we heal, and in heaven we create. So as long as there's perception, there's healing. There's some healing to be done. And the last step is taken by God to knowledge. Okay, yet in this world, your perfection is unwitnessed. God knows it, but you do not. And so you do not share his witness to it. So let's see. So knowledge is the recognition of our perfect creation, and therefore no lack, no impermanence. So it's eternal spirit. But in this world, it's really difficult for us to see ourselves as an eternal spirit. And because we can't recognize that, we're not going to be able to witness to it. Okay. All right, so let's go to the cloud of guilt and pick up from there. Okay, paragraph 1. Guilt remains the only thing that hides the Father. Okay, knowledge. For guilt is the attack upon his Son. The guilty always condemn, and having done so, they will still condemn, linking the future to the past, as is the ego's law. Fidelity to this law lets no light in, for it demands fidelity to darkness and forbids awakening. The ego's laws are strict, and breaches are severely punished. Therefore, give no obedience to its laws, for they are laws of punishment. And those who follow them believe that they are guilty, and so they must condemn. Between the future and the past, the laws of God must intervene if you would free yourself. Atonement stands between them, like a lamp shining so brightly that the chain of darkness in which you bound yourself will disappear. Okay. So what I just reviewed is kind of connecting to this paragraph here. Okay, because remember we were saying before that that we free ourselves through healing, and this is talking about how the last line that we bound ourselves in darkness, chains of darkness here. Chains of darkness in which you bound yourself will disappear. And so the darkness is the guilt, because that guilt is like a cloud that hides the light, which is Father or knowledge, source, unconditional love. And guilt is the attack upon his son. And this is with a capital H and a capital S. So guilt, let's see, would be to say that the Son of God is no longer as he was created. Okay, because it would mean that he's not loving anymore. So when we feel guilty or when we make someone guilty, we're condemning them. And we're saying, you are not loving. I am not loving. I'm bad. I'm evil. I did something terrible, or you did something awful and terrible, and it's unforgivable. And now you're going to, suffer and be punished. If you believe in hell, you're going to go to hell. If you believe in karma, you're going to come back and, have to go through this again, and the whole thing. So that's why line 2 says the guilty always condemn. And because they did so, then they will still condemn. So that's the past and the future right there. Linking the future to the past, which is the ego's law. So the ego tries to, you could say, sort of cover over the present moment, which is where the light can come through. Line 3, that's why it says that fidelity to the ego's laws lets no light in. For it demands fidelity to darkness and forbids awakening. So the present moment is where we can remember the truth of what we are as love. So another thing about, guilt, following the laws of guilt, which is what the ego's laws are, is that they demand punishment. I mean, that's the whole idea of sin and, and of, let's see. Well, it's the whole idea that if you do anything bad or you do anything wrong or you, don't follow the law, the rules, then you are deserving of punishment and undeserving of love. So it's the belief that attack is justified. And so that's why it's saying, don't give any obedience to its laws in line 5, because you're going to be obeying the laws of punishment, and therefore you're going to be under the we're going to have to experience the effects of being under those laws, which means that we're going to have to experience punishment. And so when we believe we are guilty, those are the laws that we are following, because we're saying, well, the guilty are deserving of punishment. So if I feel guilty, then I must be deserving of punishment. And of course, nobody likes to believe that. That's a terrifying thought. So what we do is we try to say, oh, no. Let me try to project this and say that it wasn't my fault. It was somebody else's fault. Okay, I'm innocent. The situation here is at fault, or my brother is at fault, or he did it, or, they started it, or let's see. There's so many ways for us to try to, put the blame on something else, to try to get out of that fear, because of course we're afraid that we're going to be punished. So, so in order to free ourselves from that trap of guilt and fear and punishment, is that the laws of God must intervene. Okay, and atonement is the law of God that stands between them, which says the separation never happened. We are not separate selves that can be guilty. Okay, That's a dream. So that's not anything to be taken seriously. And that's the light that can undo that chain of darkness, because the mind begins to remember the truth that it never separated from God, and therefore it is not guilty. And therefore it cannot really attack itself, because the self that suffers attack is not the true self. It's it's an image that we have made of ourselves that can suffer loss, that can suffer defeat, that can suffer humiliation, that can, and and the body itself is a projected image that we made as an ego, that can suffer death, that can suffer sickness, and that's why we made it as an ego. um, uh, because it's there has to be punishment if there's guilt. So all of that all of those ideas begin to be undone with the atonement, which is a recognition of the truth. Okay. All right. So any questions? No? Okay. Okay, Sonia, paragraph 2.
Release from guilt is the ego's whole undoing. Make no one fearful, for his guilt is yours. And by obeying the ego's harsh commandments, you bring its condemnation on yourself, and you will not escape the punishment it offers those who obey it. The ego rewards fidelity to it with pain, for faith in it is pain. And faith can be rewarded only in terms of the belief in which the faith was placed. Faith makes the power of belief, and where it is invested determines its reward. For faith is always given what is treasured, and what is treasured is returned to you.
Anything, Sonia?
Um, it's just interesting because it's emphasizing belief. Faith makes only in terms of the belief in which faith was placed.
Mm-hmm.
Faith makes the power of belief and where it is invested.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'll just let you take this.
Yes. So we can go into that, but let's go to the top of the paragraph first. Okay. To release guilt is the ego's whole undoing. Okay. All right. So all we really have to focus on is releasing guilt, and the whole ego thought system is undone. And that's why the practice of forgiveness is always emphasized as our only function. Okay. Because the function of forgiveness is to undo guilt, right? If what you did, what my brother, let's see, if I'm forgiving my brother for what he did not do, then there is no guilt. He didn't do it. Okay. My mind is responsible for the interpretation, and my mind is the one that is the only causal level of my experience. Okay, so irregardless of what my brother did, the effects of that experience are coming from my mind. Okay. Okay. So line 2 says, make no one fearful. Okay. For his guilt is yours. How do we make others fearful? Okay. Well, condemning them is a very fearful thing. Okay. If someone blames me, if someone condemns me, if someone says, oh, you deserve to be punished because what you did was wrong, it was bad, and I'm going to punish you for it. Okay. That's making me fearful, you see? So what it's saying is don't teach fear. Okay. Don't make anyone fearful. Don't teach fear. Okay. Because fear implies that there's a loss of love somewhere. Okay. And if there's a loss of love, then we have lost, we have attacked, or we have somehow annihilated God somewhere along the line because God is love. So under there, anytime there's fear, under there's going to be some kind of guilt. Okay, and so condemnation is judging others, and it's a double-edged sword. That's why it says that to obey the ego's harsh commandments, you bring its condemnation on yourself. So, because whatever we see as bad or wrong or let's see, lacking in another, we're actually having to see it in ourselves first. Because it's a projection. So it means it's actually in us. So that's why we can't escape that that what we give, we receive. So that's kind of going down to the last few lines, because the ego rewards fidelity to it with pain. Okay, for faith in it is pain. Okay, so to put our faith in the ego, which is the belief that we are separate from God, is very, very painful, because we see ourselves as and experience ourselves as being alone on our own and having to survive by whatever means is necessary. So we end up doing a lot of things that we regret, because we thought, well, I have to survive, that justifies my attack. Okay. And because that's what the ego says. The ego says that, it's a dog eat dog world because there's scarcity of resources. And so fighting and war and conflict is all justified attack. So, go at it. And that's why he rewards following his laws with pain, because we end up just suffering. War, conflict, doesn't matter whether you think it's justified or unjustified, doesn't matter who wins, both sides suffer. They're going to be in pain. And faith can be rewarded only in terms of the belief in which the faith was placed. So either we're going to place our faith in the belief of separation, which is ego, and we're going to experience the results of that belief, either rewarded with pain, maybe a little bit of pleasure here and there, but for the most part, just pain. And, we talk a lot about the power of belief, but this is saying, well, the belief itself has power because we give our faith to it. And faith is investment, which means that we're investing our, our creative will we're giving it creative power, even though it's a miscreation, it still has that same power because it's coming from the same creative source that created us, our mind. And then our mind gives it that creative power. Because whatever we treasure, we're going to believe in. And whatever we believe in is going to be manifested in the world and return to us as what we treasured, as the experience we have in the world. Yeah. Connie, do you have a question? No? Yeah, so that's the thing about the world. It's a really, it's almost like, let's see. It's almost like watching our mind, but thinking it's not our mind, and then having that experience of our own thoughts as a dream that we think is reality. And until we realize it's not reality, we don't question it. We just assume, oh yeah, everybody assumes it's reality. So it reminds me a little bit of that scene in The Matrix where Neo goes to meet what's the guy's name? The guy that's going to give him the blue pill or the red pill. And then they're walking up the stairs, and Neo looks and he sees this black cat walking across the doorway, and then he turns and he sees the same black cat walking across the doorway again. And he's like, he has to do a double take, like, what the heck? Didn't I just see that? And he's like, what did you see? And they're like, well, I saw the cat, but then it happened again. He goes, oh, that's a glitch in the matrix. So we have to kind of like start catching the glitches in the matrix so that we can begin to recognize, oh yeah, this is really not reality. How can it be reality? You begin to see all this insanity, and it's like, how it's almost like disbelief. Like, could that that's so hard to believe. I have to swallow that. So it's because the mind is starting to wake up and recognize that, come on, no, that's just getting too what's the word, it's just too much of an exaggeration here. I can believe a dream as long as it stays within certain parameters, right? Like, but once it starts getting really insane, like, then you start questioning. Because I remember I had a dream once that I was hiking up in the hills here close to where we live, and I'm walking along the little pathway there, and then I step over a little stream, and then I look, and it's a little bit like I look and I see a crocodile there. And I'm like, and so then I'm like, crocodile? Wait a minute. Wait a minute. There's no crocodiles. This is Northern California. Where did that crocodile come from? So even within the dream, even at night when we're dreaming, it's called lucid dreaming. You start questioning some of the stuff you're seeing in your own dreams. So that's what this is saying. What this is saying is that there is there's a light that comes through, even in the dream, that the mind recognizes, and it allows the mind to begin to question the reality of this world, of my beliefs, of what I have just taken for granted, of all my assumptions. And then we begin to really look at, do I really believe that? And why would I want to really believe that? I'm giving my faith and I'm valuing I'm cherishing these ideas, but is that really what I want? Because look at what it's giving me as an experience. And why would I want that experience, right? Pain, suffering. No, thank you. Maybe I don't want that idea. Maybe I don't want to believe in that. That's not really in my highest good here. So we begin to question, everything that we have learned in the past and that we've just accepted. So and the biggest thing is the guilt, because the release from guilt is the ego's whole undoing. So make no one fearful. Okay, because when you think about it, a lot of people will use fear, okay, as a way to control and dominate others. Do you see that? Okay. And this is saying, no, don't do that. That's not a good idea. Okay. He's going to come back and bite you. Yeah. Yeah. So don't fall for it, Anyway. Okay. Number 3, Connie.
The world can give you only what you gave it, for being nothing but your own projection. It has no meaning apart from what you found in it and placed your faith in. Be faithful unto darkness, and you will not see, because your faith will be rewarded as you gave it. You will accept your treasure, and if you place your faith in the past, the future will be like it. Whatever you hold dear, you think is yours. The power of your valuing will make it so.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so this is talking about valuing, so we want to look at how it is that we value guilt. We value condemnation, we value blaming others, we value fear, we value trying to control others with fear. And if we do that, then we're going to be controlled by fear. So because it's the same thing here, it's a projection. And the world can only give me what I gave to it. So if I'm teaching guilt by condemning, by blaming, by not forgiving, by holding grievances, then that is what the world is going to give me, because that is what I'm projecting. And the world itself has no meaning apart from what I found in it, because I put it there. So I'm going to find whatever I want in the world, because that's what I put in there, because I put my faith in it. And so by putting my faith in it, I value those ideas, and though I believe in those ideas. And so those beliefs get projected. So then I see them in the world, and I think I'm finding them in the world, and so I mean, I'm forgetting that I put them there, and that they have the only meaning that I gave them. They have no other meaning other than that. Yeah, Sonia.
So speaking of that, like for example, like when I think of all of the beliefs in society, like our culture, like in America holds, if I'm the one who placed those beliefs, like I projected all of those beliefs, which would be like society's, um, you know, values, like let's say value of career or of family or certain, stuff like that.
Money.
Money, yeah, that's a big one. Then because I place them there, they're not really society's beliefs. They're what I put there and then found there because I placed my faith in them even before I came in.
Yeah,
So
because you brought them with you so that you could see them there.
Okay. So when I see those beliefs, I'm just perpetuating them, right? Because if faith is the one that generates the power of those beliefs, then wouldn't I have to go to the faith and then all of the beliefs would just undo itself? Or are we working with the belief level first? I'm confused.
Yes. So yes, because we do imprison ourselves because it's a loop. You see, we bring them, we project them, we see them, they witness to our beliefs, so we reinforce the beliefs. So then we just project them, we see them, they witness to being right. Yes, I am right. The world is, full of attack and bad people and, evil and all of that. And that's what I see. And so then I see that, I turn the news on. Oh yeah, see, I'm right. Look at what happened to so and so. So it's a loop. So we have to so what we're reading here is that the past, that's the ego law. You take the past and you project it so that it shows up in the future, and then it just reinforces itself. Okay. Because we bring the past with us, and then all I see is the past in the world because it's a projection. Okay, so how do we undo that? So we undo that, okay, by in the moment choosing love, which is to choose to forgive what I'm seeing, because what I'm seeing is going to be condemnation, it's going to be attack, it's going to be crime, it's going to be my own judgment of someone being unloving, and if and really the only purpose that I can give, which is Holy Spirit purpose, is to see all of that and use it to practice forgiveness. So they're all opportunities for forgiveness, because the forgiveness will remind me that, oh, wait a minute, there's nothing really out there. It's a projection of my mind. Okay, so everything I see is just an inward picture. It's an outward picture of an inward condition. That's what the Course says. So I'm really forgiving what seems to be out there, but I'm really forgiving myself because I'm the one that's holding on to those thoughts. You see? So the first step is to recognize, well, it's a decision for love. Okay, and that's what the faith is. Are we going to put our faith in guilt and follow the loss of the ego and punishment and suffering and all that, or are we going to put our faith in love and do our best to practice the forgiveness and to remember that this cannot be true if God is truly loving. None of what I'm seeing that's unloving can be the will of God. So it's almost like I have to take a stand on what I want to believe is really the truth. Because otherwise my mind is going to reflect, it's going to go back and forth. So it's going to be a split. And that's what I'm going to see. Oh yeah, I see, I have an experience. Oh yeah, that's loving. Oh no, that's an experience of attack, So until the mind really takes a stand and says, okay, look, nothing real, okay, can be threatened. Nothing unreal, therefore, exists. Okay, I'm not going to have complete peace, because that is the peace of God, until I have taken a complete stand that only what is true, and I stop believing in illusions. Otherwise, I'm giving value to illusions. I'm giving value to guilt. I'm giving value to fear. I'm giving value to something that says there's an opposite, or that God can be opposed, that there's something that can be greater and attack a love that is God and is all powerful, which makes no sense at all. You see, there's going to be all this confusion and insanity until we really get the mind, till the mind really straightens itself out and is no longer deceived by what the ego ideas are painting a picture of, which is a picture of separation from the source of total and complete love, which would mean guilt, you see, if that was actually accomplished. So the guilt witnesses to the accomplishment of the separation, and therefore it witnesses to the reality of the ego as a self that is individual and on its own, and a body. And it witnesses to death and impermanence and loss, and therefore it witnesses to pain and suffering. And that's the experience that all humans have, because that's what we put our faith in. Yeah. And that's what we believe we are, because we put our faith in it. Okay. Paragraph 3. Yeah, Connie?
It seems like it comes back to just questioning everything, like, is this really true? What am I valuing here?
Yes,
Yeah,
definitely.
just
Definitely.
question everything. But
Yeah.
the part that's a little tricky for me to believe is we came in with all this.
Yeah.
All this complicated crap. We came in with it.
Yeah.
It seems like, no, I came in as an innocent little being of love, and I learned all this.
Yes, of course. Well, but
Well,
either way, okay, you chose to learn it. So you can also choose to unlearn it.
well, I have to. Yes, indeed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So it's not so much that let's see. Because what you're saying is either we come in like as a baby with a blank slate and then we just take it all on, okay, or we already come in with this stuff. But the thing is that, even a baby has a mind, is part of the mind, and therefore the power of the mind is no different from an adult than a baby, because you're talking about the size of a body when you're talking about a baby. But the mind has no size. So whether it's a baby or an adult with a mind, it's still the same mind. Oh. Yeah. 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 So, okay. Paragraph 3. Connie.
No, I think, didn't
Oh,
I
it's
just
4. You're right.
It's you. It's
Yeah.
you.
Oh, it's me? Okay. Atonement brings a re-evaluation of everything you cherish, for it is the means by which the Holy Spirit can separate the false and the true, which you have accepted into your mind without distinction. That's what we were just saying, Connie, about questioning everything, all the beliefs. So therefore, you cannot value one without the other. And guilt has become as true for you as innocence. You do not believe the Son of God is guiltless because you see the past and see him not. When you condemn a brother, you are saying, quote, I, who was guilty, choose to remain so, unquote. You have denied his freedom, and by so doing, you have denied the witness unto yours. You could as easily have freed him from the past and lifted from his mind the cloud of guilt that binds him to it, and in his freedom would have been your own. Okay, so this is all about projection. So it's in our best interest to forgive, because let's see. Well, those are the bottom lines there. Line 4. When you condemn a brother, you are saying, I who is guilty choose to remain so. Because in order to condemn a brother, okay, I'm projecting guilt. And in order to project the guilt, I have to have the guilt. Otherwise, I cannot project it. You see? So I have to keep the guilt in order to be able to condemn and project. And so I remain guilty. So I have denied him freedom from guilt, and I have denied it. I have denied then the witness that he could be of being innocent, that would reflect back on my mind as being innocent. You see that? Because it's a mirror. So yeah, so 6, you could easily have freed him from the past. Okay, so if I chose to just not judge him and not hold any grievances against my brother, then I would see him without all of that past that I bring and then project onto him. And then lifted from his mind the cloud of guilt that binds him to it. And so by doing that, I would be reflecting back to him innocence, which would then lift the cloud of guilt in his mind that would bind him to it, because I would be reflecting innocence for him to see innocence in his own mind. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay, so, and then of course, and in his freedom, that would have been my own. Because now I'm free, he's free from guilt and I'm free from guilt, and we can see each other's innocence. Yeah, Connie?
Well, I was noticing an experience came to mind with a friend, and I noticed that there's a part, well, the ego kind of has fun, you know, blaming or attacking or making excuses for, you know, blaming, you know, just blaming them for their behavior. And I see, yeah, the pleasure of the ego that it feels, but also that pain. I hadn't really noticed that part before. There is a pleasure there in,
Yes.
or, oh, look at that, or yeah, it really, yeah.
Yeah, you know, the Course
It's
talks
fun and
about
pleasurable.
fun and pleasurable. Well, that's what the Course calls the attraction to guilt.
Ah, that's
Yeah.
what that is.
Yeah. That's why it's not easy to let it go, because there is that element of pleasure there, which is really, that goes together with the pain. Yeah.
Well, that's helpful. The attraction is
That's
that.
the attraction. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And it's
Mhm.
good that you're noticing that, because you know, then you're going to be in a position to really evaluate whether the pain is worth the pleasure.
Well, no, it's more fun. It's
Of
more
course.
fun. More fun to poke. Oh, look at that. Ha ha ha. Okay.
and
So,
it completely leaves once you realize that it's just your own stuff that you're seeing in them. That's not even their stuff.
oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's the pain.
There's the pain.
Pleasure and pain of it all. Okay. The
Yeah.
attraction to guilt.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So So Connie was saying about, we just need to look at everything that we value. And that's what re-evaluation is. Because everything we value, we cherish. I mean, everything we believe in, we cherish. And if we don't, or we've accepted it that way, and if we don't really evaluate it, then we are giving faith to, because I remember I did that when my first year in college. I remember sitting down and, I remember the place where I was, and I remember thinking, well, wait a minute, do I really believe this, or is that something I just accepted from my family? I remember really just looking at my beliefs one at a time, and I really started looking at what I was being taught, because up to that point, I never questioned everything I was learning in school. I just, oh yes, of course I need to learn this. I gotta, do well on the test. But but now that I was in college, I was beginning to look at, okay, I can't just start swallowing everything that professors are throwing at me, How do I even know it's true? Then I have to sort all this out again, and that's a lot of work. So I started being a little more careful about what I accepted from, in this case, it was professors, but you really have to look at entertainment, because so much of what we learn comes from the media. We don't even question that. And there's a lot of ridiculous stuff there that we just swallow, you know, that really is opening the mind to a lot of chaos. And if we were a little more careful, the mind wouldn't be so confused. So anyway, okay, number 5, Sonia.
Lay not his guilt upon him, for his guilt lies in his secret thought that he has done this unto you. Would you, then, teach him he is right in his delusion? The idea that the guiltless Son of God can attack himself and make himself guilty is insane. In any form, in any one, believe this not. For sin and condemnation are the same, and the belief in one is faith in the other, calling for punishment instead of love. Nothing can justify insanity, and to call for punishment upon yourself must be insane. So if we make somebody else guilty, we're really just teaching that what he did was actually happened. Like it actually had effects, right? And that it was actually sinful and needs to be punished, and so it's actually just perpetuating that insanity is true, which doesn't,
Yes, because sin focuses on the behavior, on the doing, okay? And behavior and doing are effects, okay? What we do comes from what we think, which is what we perceive. How we perceive the situation determines what we do, okay? And now if someone does, or even if I do something to someone, okay, and you know what? It's easier to see it with a child. Okay. So a child does something, let's say, oh, he finds a crayon and he scribbles all over the wall. Okay. And now his mom is yelling, really angry. Okay. Okay. And saying like, how could you do that? I'm gonna have to spend, a whole hour cleaning it up or whatever. Okay. And so if the mother or the father makes the child guilty, fearful, makes him fearful that he's deserving of punishment for what he did. Okay. because he would be the cause of their anger, of their upset, of their feeling unhappy. Okay. You would be teaching, okay, that that his doing has power over you, over your mind, over how you feel, over your actions, over how you react. Okay, so, which is not true. Okay, because the parent decides whether they want to be forgiving or whether they want to be punishing and condemning. Okay, so it's the adult's decision to react in that way to what the child did. Okay, so to make the child guilty for what he did, and he didn't know what he was doing, obviously. Hey, this is a nice blank, space, nice place to color. Okay, he didn't know what he's doing. He didn't know there was a rule, you don't color on walls, So then what we're teaching him is that to be guilty is to be powerful, is to have power over other people by what I do. Okay, so therefore we're teaching him a delusion that my doing can be sinful and can offend God, who is all powerful. Look at my mom. She's, off her rocker. And I, this 5-year-old little body, did that with a crayon by writing on the wall. My goodness. Okay. So that's a pretty big, I'm teaching the kid a delusion of grandeur in a way, because I'm teaching him that whatever he does can control his maker's state of happiness, of, wellness, of sanity even. And so the idea that the guiltless Son of God can attack himself and make himself guilty is insane. Okay, because it means that what I do can cause me to be guilty. You see that? That's the belief in sin. And that's why it's insane. Because doing is an effect. It cannot be the cause. Okay, so it's reversing cause and effect. Okay, and it's also believing that the cause for how I feel is external to me. Someone else is responsible for it. It's not my mind. It's someone else's doing. And they deserve to be punished for that because I'm a victim now. So the mother makes herself a victim of the 5-year-old's doing. And the child identifies with what he's doing because that seems to be so powerful. And so now I'm going to look at myself as a child and judge myself based on what I do. So if I do things that are pleasing to my mother, then I'm going to be not guilty and innocent. And if I do things that are displeasing and my mother disapproves of, then I'm going to be guilty and bad. So my whole self-identity is going to be based on how others perceive me. Yeah. And that's a very big delusion because I'm believing that I'm being self-created by others' judgments of me. So I'm going to be terrified of what others think of me and how they see me. Do you see that? And I'm going to be catering and trying to please everyone, or vice versa. I'm going to be trying to manipulate them and control them because, hey, I have that power depending on what I do. If I find the right buttons to push, I can control and manipulate that person. So it's a very, very big delusion. Yeah. So so in any form, in anyone, believe this not. Yeah. Because it's insanity. For sin and condemnation are the same. And to believe in one is to have faith in the other. Because we're looking at condemnation now as power. Because basically, you know, we learned that sin can offend and attack the all-powerful mighty God, which is our parent in that case. But nevertheless, it's a metaphor for believing that by what we do, we attack God, who is all-powerful. That's the belief. That's what sin is. That's the belief. And so 6, nothing can justify insanity, and to call for punishment upon yourself must be insane. So yeah, so once you believe that you have sinned, you're going to condemn yourself, and you're going to believe that you're deserving of punishment. And you know, we do it in maybe we deprive ourselves of good things. You know, we punish ourselves in different ways. We we can have accidents, you know. I you know, I hit my head in the car. I remember, yeah, if I go back and I say, oh, geez, why did I hit my head in the car? You know, I can go back and trace the thought. Oh yeah, that was a guilty thought. You know, I was feeling guilty. And then I'm uncoordinated and hit my head in the car door, you know, things like that. So that's why, you know, the Course says there's no accidents, because that drivers are always unconsciously at work underneath. So, okay, number 6. Is that Connie? Yeah.
Yeah. See no one then as guilty, and you will affirm the truth of guiltlessness unto yourself. In every condemnation that you offer the Son of God lies the conviction of your own guilt. If you would have the Holy Spirit make you free of it, accept his offer of atonement for all your brothers. For so you learn that it is true for you. Remember always that it is impossible to condemn the Son of God in part. Those whom you see as guilty become the witnesses to guilt in you, and you will see it there, for it is there until it is undone. Guilt is always in your mind, which has condemned itself. Project it not, for while you do, it cannot be undone. With everyone whom you release from guilt, great is the joy in heaven, where the witnesses to your fatherhood rejoice.
Mm-hmm. Yes, so remember that release from guilt is the undoing of the ego thought system. So line 9, with everyone whom you release from guilt, okay, that's the undoing of the ego thought system. So there's great joy in heaven, where the witnesses, because that's the healing of the mind. And on earth we heal, in heaven we create. So in heaven, the miracle, which is the forgiveness of which is the release from guilt, is the witness to our creative to our creations in heaven, which is fatherhood, which means there's no separation between the Son and the Father as one will. So, which is love, you know, the will of God is love. And when we practice love, we are following God's will. We are doing God's will, which is also our will. And that's how we recognize, when the mind is healed, that there is just one will. Father, Son, it's the same will. So, so the practice is to see no one then as guilty. And that's how we affirm the truth of guiltlessness unto ourselves. And that's how we are free from suffering, because we are not going to condemn ourselves and judge ourselves deserving of punishment. Yeah. So, and number 5, remember always that it is impossible to condemn the Son of God in part, because the Son of God is one. So there are no separate parts. You know, to condemn one part of the sonship is to condemn the whole sonship, because it's one mind. Okay. Okay, number 7. Let's see, my turn. Guilt makes you blind. For while you see one spot of guilt within you, you will not see the light. And by projecting it, the world seems dark and shrouded in your guilt. You throw a dark veil over it and cannot see it because you cannot look within. You are afraid of what you would see there, but it is not there. The thing you fear is gone. If you would look within, you would see only the atonement shining in quiet and in peace upon the altar to your Father. Okay, so the projection is what needs to be undone first, because remember up here it said that the previous paragraph 8, project it not, for while you do, it cannot be undone. So to project guilt, to blame others, to, condemn, is how we keep that guilt stuck. And therefore, paragraph 7, guilt makes you blind. So we stay blind. And as long as there's one spot of guilt within us, we will not see the light. We will not see the truth. So in other words, we can't just say, well, I pretty much see everyone in the world as innocent, except for one person. Well, okay, well, until we let go of seeing that one person is guilty, we're not going to be able to see the light. It can be, 400 billion innocent people and one person guilty. So, and then if we project it, then we are shrouding the world with darkness. And that's the veil, I think the Buddhists talk about the veil that needs to be lifted. Because the real world is there, but we can't see it because we have this veil of projected guilt over it. Yeah, and it keeps us from looking within. So once we start looking within, then we can begin to dispel all the guilt there, because we know it's there. We're not trying to fix the world who we think is evil and bad. We already recognize, oh yeah, I'm just seeing a mirror reflection of what's in my mind. So let's just go to the source. Let's just go to the mind and begin to undo all of the guilt there. Yes, but a lot of times that's not very easy to do, because we're afraid of seeing what is there, because we really believe we're going to find evil and all those things that we're afraid that we are, but it's not there. The thing you fear is gone. It's like, we're afraid there's a monster under the bed, so we're not going to look. Okay, and if we did look, we would see there's nothing there. It's just the fear that is making the image of it appear to be there. And so what is really being protected is the atonement. See, what the ego doesn't want us to see is the atonement, shining in quiet and in peace, because that's the whole undoing. The atonement is the whole undoing of the ego thought system. And there's only peace there. So, okay, 8. Sonia.
Do not be afraid to look within. The ego tells you all is black with guilt within you and bids you not to look. Instead, it bids you to look upon your brothers and see the guilt in them. Yet this you cannot do without remaining blind. For those who see their brothers in the dark and guilty in the dark in which they shroud them are too afraid to look upon the light within. Within you is not what you believe is there and what you put your faith in. Within you is the holy sign of perfect faith your Father has in you. He does not value you as you do. He knows himself and knows the truth in you. He knows there is no difference, for he knows not of differences. Can you see guilt where God knows there is perfect innocence? You can deny his knowledge, but you cannot change it. Look, then, upon the light he placed within you, and learn that what you feared was there has been replaced with love.
Yeah, anything, Sonia? No? Okay, so let's see. So the light, what's really within us is the light, and the light is love. So there's a fear of love, of looking within. It's a fear of love, because it means that we have been wrong about ourselves. And that means that we have to be willing to place all pride and all insecurity aside to be able to really look within. Because otherwise we're, let's see, we're going to be afraid to be wrong. Or we're going to be afraid that that I'm only going to confirm that I'm right. And, I really am a jerk, and I really am whatever, all the bad things I think I am. So I'm afraid I don't want to confirm that. So I'd rather not look within. But the truth is the truth. So whether we look within or don't look within, what is the truth is there. And that cannot be changed, because knowledge cannot be changed. It's unchangeable, it's eternal, it's whole. And of course, we have a belief that we have changed ourselves, that what God created can be changed. So there's, we have to really question those beliefs that we have about God and about, look at all the inconsistencies that don't make any sense, to kind of let go of all that fear of looking within. Okay. So any questions before we stop? I mean, look, line 11, I mean, that's the question is, can you see guilt where God knows there is perfect innocence? Okay. So, I mean, to really believe that we see guilt is to say that I know more than God, right? Yeah. No, guilt is real. It's there. Okay, well, then I am saying that I know more than God and that God is wrong here. Okay, can you see guilt where God knows there is perfect innocence? So I would rather be right about seeing guilt and make God not God, okay, than accept correction to what I believe. That's how loyal I would be to the ego, to the belief, to those beliefs. So that's why uses the word faith, because it does really take a lot of faith to choose to believe in the ego thought system. It's we don't think of it in terms of a religion, but once you put faith in it, it becomes like a religion, you know. So anyway, okay, so that's the cloud of guilt, and that's why it uses the word cloud, right? Because it's something that is not it's ephemeral, comes and goes. It's not really doesn't have much substance to it other than it temporarily blocks the light. So okay, all right, so if that's all, if that's it for today. Thank you for joining, and until next time.